So that's a huge advantage for China that we don't have in Europe.
Says Truls, founder and president of EFS Consulting.
We found it's really great opportunities.
Says Kai, the founder and CEO of HoloMatic. They are here today with us to talk about ADAS and the latest developments of the Chinese car industry. We're looking forward to hear what they have to say. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the EFS podcast. As the automotive industry rapidly evolves with new technologies, new business models emerging every day, it's important to hear from experts at the forefront of this industry. In this podcast episode, we have the privilege to interview two such experts, Ni Kai, the founder and CEO of a Chinese ADAS company called HoloMatic, and Truls Thorstensen, the founder and president of EFS. They're both visiting Vienna because of the 44th Vienna Motor Symposium. And we are very curious to hear what they have to say about automotive topics, especially about ADAS. And we're very honored to have them as guests on our show. So welcome, Truls. Welcome, Kai. Please tell us, how do you feel? How did you get here? And a little bit present yourself to the audience.
Okay, Kai, as a guest in Vienna, I'll leave it to you first.
Yeah, this is Kai from HoloMatic. I just landed in Vienna today. Actually, I just visited the Shanghai Auto Show last week. And so it's quite an opportunity to come to Vienna and join this Vienna Motor Symposium. And I heard it's the most prestigious symposium in Europe. And I'm glad to be here to share some of our thoughts from as a China company.
Yeah, we are very happy to have you here.
Well, I just arrived as well today from my home in the south of France. And actually, during the last weeks, I was in China as well. I didn't stay for the motor show in Shanghai because I knew Kai was coming. He will tell me everything that I need to know about it.
Ni Kai, I would be interested that you tell a little bit more about your own company that you founded, HoloMatic. So what's the mission of the company and what is the focus? What are you exactly doing there?
Yeah, HoloMatic was founded in 2017, and it's now almost 6 years old. Our mission is to make the mobility better using the AI technology. So we want to achieve it in a way that in a serious production way. So we want to work with OEMs. We want to use our AI technique to enable more kind of competitive cars for the ADAS market. We have more than 500 people now, mainly in China. And our biggest office now is in Beijing. And we also have our presence in Suzhou, in Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Wuhan. So we have 5 research centers.
Mm-hmm. And you're supplying the Chinese car makers?
Yeah, we are supplying more than 3 Chinese major OEMs. A lot of them, their cars are electric cars now. Yeah.
Very interesting. And now I would also be curious because I think EFS and HoloMatic have kind of a partnership. Maybe, Truls, you can elaborate a little bit on that. How did we find together?
Well, the place we found together was something that, we started together with the Auto Business Review 10 years ago, the so-called Xuanyuan-Awards. That was an idea from Jack Yuyong, who editor-in-chief and owner of the Auto Business Review, and myself. And we saw that there was a need in China for independent evaluation and giving guidance to the automotive industry. And so we set up this assessment and the Xuanyuan Award based on the assessment. This year was the 10th time we had this assessment, and it's turned out now to be the number one automotive award in China. And we are absolutely independent. It still belongs only to Auto Business Review and to EFS. So we are completely independent. Now, how did we get together? We tried to structure the number of topics that we would like to assess. So we get 40 cars. We now have almost 100 companies that are wanting to join and to bring their cars to be assessed by us, but we don't have the capacity to do so. So we limit it to 40, which is quite a challenge. And the number of topics we are looking at is kind of the static and dynamic assessment. So you have the HMI, human machine interface. You have also typical use cases. What do people use the cars for? And then we have ADAS and autonomous driving. And a number of years back, we were thinking of, well, who could be kind of the professional partner in China joining this assessment and adding to professionality, really operational professionality on how to evaluate these systems. And we had a research on all the companies active in China, and actually clearly number one was your company, Kai. And so we contacted you and said, hey, would you like to do that? And your answer was yes.
Yeah, that was I still remember that great moment. We were invited to join the Xuanyuan assessment because even before the ADAS era, so it's this already kind of a well-known kind of award assessment in China. So when I heard the news that this assessment wants adding ADAS perspective into this kind of the annual review, we found it's really great opportunities. And personally, I like every year we have a kind of a chance to try out different, like 40 different cars. And because, everyone is very busy for their daily work, like during most of the time in the year. So there's 2 weeks, actually, you can focusing on the latest technology, latest change on the market and try out all those new cars. And then you give some perspective of how the industry, how the market goes for the past year. It's a really very interesting things to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. Actually, every one of us working in a company which is producing products should take at least 2 weeks per year, right, to just go to the product and really use it and work it, because there is sometimes people seem to be really disenfranchised, and this is really a great thing. So yeah. Okay, then I would really love to get right into it. I think it's safe to say that the two big topics, transformations in the vehicle industry, are the electrification and on the other side, autonomous driving, or let's say ADAS, advanced driver assistance systems. So where are we actually? What are the latest technological advancements, and where do we stand? Will we soon be able to drive autonomously, or is this question maybe too naive? So I'm very curious to hear the opinion of a real expert on this.
Well, we have been seeing a lot of kind of advancement for the past 5 years. For example, we see a lot of new sensors put into the cars, and now you can see more cameras. For example, even some lidars on the cars, which kind of like the icon of the kind of new smart cars. But more importantly, the software and is empowered by the more kind of strong chips in the car. So basically, the computer in the car gets more and more powerful, and which makes the intelligence of the car grows dramatically. And then now going back to the customers, they will kind of they can buy a kind of a very nice, experienced ADAS cars with relatively cheap price, and those kind of configuration only exists on luxury cars before. And now you can actually you can really buy a very kind of a medium kind of segment cars with reasonable price, and you get a better very good experience. And you will also see there's those big screens gets popular in cars. This is very important for automated driving technology in the cars, because that screen empowers the user computer interactions between the drivers and the vehicle, and this makes the experience even better. And so we can also see a lot of cars now have this kind of we call it the kind of the data transferring. So with under the regulation of those data transfer, and we can get more useful data to train the car to get a better and better performance. And this is important for achieve the final autonomous driving. So you were asking, but I think for the autonomous driving, will take a long time. Let's say it will take more than 10 years to really get rid of the driver. But before that, because the product gets more and more kind of the customers, it gets better user experiences, you will feel kind of comfortable, and you will be kind of removed for a lot of driving scenarios. So it's really important, I think.
I think we are very lucky today because we can draw from both perspectives, the Chinese and the European perspective. I often hear my colleagues say, Of course, they drive cars, and also we try a lot of cars because when we fly to customers, we borrow the cars, and it's kind of a mixed bag, these ADAS systems, because some of them say, actually, the car wants to take control from me. On the others say, but on the other side, I have the feeling it slowly gets better. People are getting used to it. We're accepting this more and more. So I would be interested from both your perspective, how open or thankful are customers actually for this? And is there a difference between Chinese customers and European customers, in your point of view?
Well, quite a difference, I would say. And the difference, there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, generally speaking, the culture in China, and not only in China, in Asian countries, they are much more used to use their cell phone to do everything. Everything is done in an incredibly professional way. And the young people are used to it. And the young people expect that. And they expect something similar from the car. So they would not be satisfied with a car that does not have new technologies. So the young people in China are much more positive towards technical innovations and a usage where the machine is giving you advices and so on as they're used from the cell phone. So, and the manufacturers are clever enough to make products that are not too expensive. Kai, as you said, also for not only luxury cars, but also cars for younger people, cheaper cars. They are now equipped with ADAS systems, and the young people expect that and they like it. Which means, of course, that you are much more better prepared in China to understand what the young people want and follow them as they will be then buying, more, upgrading their cars to buying more expensive cars and so on. So that's a huge advantage for China that we don't have in Europe. Europe does not have this high positive attitude towards technology, especially technology that would take over your role as a driver.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or?
Yeah. So I feel as Truls said, the kind of the young customer is a very important factor of the China market. Actually, for the past kind of 5 years, more and more people are getting used to buy electric cars, and if you really see the numbers, most of them are young customers, and because young customers like electric cars and they will prefer the technology in the electric cars is also kind of up to date. So because everyone gets to use to their cell phones, we go out to buy everything with our cell phones, without credit cards. We order online using our cell phones. Basically, the cell phone is kind of it's basically the most important kind of the tunnel you get to the world. So they will expect very similar experience on the cars. That's why the cars getting a large screens, and the cars getting more and more apps. It's just like your cell phone. You get a lot of apps, and after you buy the car, they will expect you deliver more apps to the cars, and you get the software update every 2 months or every quarter. So this is very similar kind of the customer experiences people are expecting.
I find very interesting. I read the statistics, I think some days ago, that the first buyer age in China of cars is around 27 or something. And in Europe or in Germany, but let's take it as an average, it's way higher, more than 10 years higher. Yeah. And now I ask myself, is it even possible for European car makers to maybe the other way around too, if Chinese car makers want to enter in the European market successfully, to balance this out, because they still have their customers at home, which are thinking older, and at the same time, they want to be successful in China, and the other way around, the Chinese companies want to be successful in Europe. And I just ask myself, how can this be solved? Or is it just growing out the old hair, so to say? The Chinese have the advantage. They come with a new, fresh product, and the young Europeans at some point will just overtake it.
To be honest, I think the problem currently is not really solved. Actually, I think last year, not only Volkswagen, but also GM, Toyota, they all observed the kind of very kind of strong competition in their kind of the car sale in China. Actually, for the past Shanghai Auto Show, a lot of the global OEM top executives, they flew to China to see what kind of competition they are facing, like in the China market. I heard a lot of them are really shocked when they see kind of the cheap cars, but with quite very, very good configurations. I think for like 30 $30,000, you can get a really good cars with a lot of modern ADAS functions, big screens with all the infotainment system. So, I mean, that's basically the market the China grows to.
Well, it's interesting to also see that the topic of ADAS in China is visible. You can, if you look at a car, you will see the lidars and all the sensors. So what are the OEMs doing? They are kind of putting these sensors in a way you can see them. And the more you have, the more this is prestigious for the driver because he has a really intelligent car with all these sensors around. What do German manufacturers do? They try to hide it so you don't see any kind of sensors. So this is also, you had it with the screen. The Chinese manufacturers were very clearly focusing on having a very large screen, which we as Europeans did not do. We kind of integrated in the beautiful interior and so on, but we didn't do what actually Tesla started with, make a huge screen. And now we can see the same thing happening outside. You know, you have so if you look at your cell phone, you can see all these small cameras and so on, and we have that. But this is not kind of a documentation of how prestigious is your product. It's kind of okay that you can take photos with it. In China, it's important. Do you have 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 or 7 of these sensors that you can see from the outside? Wow, that's a cool car. So it's adding to the attractivity of a car, to showing these functionalities, and that the car has these functionalities.
So based on your observation, do you think there are outside China nowadays any new car makers or any traditional car makers that seem to be able to I don't know, make the switch or to react fast enough? Or probably, of course, some of them are, but what is your opinion on that? Is the Chinese car industry now going to overtake the car market worldwide in the next years?
Well, I'm not going to mention the name of the company or the name of the 2 companies where the top strategists and product planners called me last week after China Motor Show or the Beijing Shanghai Motor Show, and told me how shocked they were. They had hundreds of people flying over into Shanghai, and they said, "We have a problem."
Yeah. It was all over the media.
What is the problem?
Yeah.
And they said, well, they have their own R&D departments in China, and they've been relying on these people who do market research and so on, but obviously leading them in the wrong direction because these are subsidiaries of Western cultures, so of Western companies. So the question is now, how can they get a better understanding of these markets? Well, we are here talking about the interesting potential for HoloMatic and EFS.
Absolutely. Anyway, from a collaborative perspective, what are the areas where innovative enterprises can cooperate and learn from each other, from your point of view?
So, for me, I think there's. I'm not for basically when you say whether the China OEMs will take over the world. I'm not. I don't think that way because first, China and Europe had very different customers. I mean, as we already mentioned, right? Yeah. Second is, even in China, if you look at all the OEMs, not all of them are new OEMs. Mm-hmm. But now even traditional OEMs in China, they are also evolving their product, their cars very fast. I think if I compare the kind of traditional China OEMs and the global, for example, European OEMs, I think one difference is that the China OEMs are adapting to the change of the market and using this supplier technology, new technology, in a very fast way. And they won't say, okay, my team will be in charge of the whole product. You have to work in my way. I mean, a Chinese OEM now thinking a different way. I want this product. You give me things, I will integrate it. Mm-hmm. But I think because I had worked with a European OEM for some times, and I think their kind of philosophy is, I'm in charge of the product. You have to work in my ways. I only will have some components to release to you. You work out this component, but I'm kind of in charge of the whole design. But now I think Truls and I we were trying some American cars and also some European cars last year for the Xuanyuan-Awards. I think the problem is the whole design, the whole product definition is not up to date. I think they work very hard to want to have some new technology inside, but from very top, I think the product definition is a little bit lagging.
Yeah. So if I understand correct, you say while a modern Chinese OEM tries to build the car around the greatest features, actually in Europe there is a brand, a product strategy, and you try to press the feature in, and if it fits, it fits, and sometimes it doesn't fit, and it's not really. And as the market and the requirements change, this is it's a very it becomes a very old-fashioned way actually to design a car, because you cannot fast enough catch up. It's not very interesting point of view. I think very interesting is that of course, because of the Xuanyuan-Award, which is now existing for a little bit more than 10 years, or I think the 11th year is right now, you have been very close to the development of the Chinese car industry and the Chinese car market. So what were the biggest impressions? What were the biggest milestones that you witnessed on the way? And what were the biggest surprises? This would be very interesting.
Well, first of all, I'll say that the Xuanyuan-Award is the only place in the world where you have cars from all over the world. So it's not Chinese, actually. Yeah. It's cars from all the major nations making cars. And what are the biggest milestones? Well, in a nutshell, starting with bad copies. Chinese were making bad copies. And then I'll jump on today, being self-confident and having defined what they expect from a car. And then you have on all the different topics kind of leading to that completely change of philosophy, which is, you can see it with the products. As you mentioned, now you can see that it's not only picking the most intelligent or the best features, but they are integrated in a concept that is good enough to be able to have all these intelligent things without, and it's getting more consistent. And that is probably also what we can see today, which is the attractivity of the Chinese cars these days. And the biggest shock I had was at this year's Xuanyuan-Award. One of our colleagues picked me up at the airport, and it was with the car that won the Xuanyuan-Award. And I was shocked. It was calm, static dynamics perfect, acoustics incredible, ADAS fantastic. Everything was fantastic. And I thought, wow, we don't have such a car in Europe, where I just feel that everything is fantastic, including a very lean design that is not kind of the typical design where you have ornamentalistic and so on, but very lean design and everything. That shocked me. For the first time I said, wow, that's a car I would buy.
No, I think it's in your story following it. It's pretty interesting because what you described now really happened in just 10 years. This is not such a long time, right? This was very fast.
Well, the first time I saw a Chinese EV, it still had an exhaust. They had just, written in the back, electric car. It was not. Actually, it was a very normal combustion engine car, but they just put EV in the back and said, well, that's how it's going to look. So they've also gone from a conversion design to purpose design, which means you don't make a transformation of the whole the packaging and everything to fit that was made to fit the combustion engine, and then you make an electric vehicle out of it. You design it from scratch as an electric vehicle, and that's a huge difference.
Kai, and from your point of view, what was your biggest moment in the Chinese car development in the last 10 years?
Well, I would say at least for the ADAS, it's probably last 5 years. Mm-hmm. For another 5 years, I don't think that much advancement. But for the past 5 years, I would say the change is huge. So first, as a customer, from a customer point of view, you will see all the new cars. They're not advertising kind of other features. They are advertising the ADAS features. They're advertising the kind of the infotainment features. And the way I sit into some cars, not only the ADAS, but the whole experience. It feels like the gap between you're using your old function phones with a new smartphones. That's kind of the big change we are experiencing kind of for the last 5 years. And also, I think there's a kind of a more communication needs to happen. I mean, to be honest, I haven't been talking to a lot of European peoples already for 3 years because of the pandemic. And actually, the Shanghai Auto Show is the newest one, and the last two they are canceled basically. So I think a lot of communication can happen between kind of the China and Europe, and I think we probably have something to learn from the European market as well. But anyways, I think EV is a kind of a new trend, and we are making great progresses in those kind of the car products, and people are loving this kind of this trend, and hopefully this kind of the trend we will bring it to Europe, and with the European car manufacturers, and we can make some great products for European people.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask as a next question. So, do you have plans, or are there already any concrete actions that for you to try to come to the European market?
Yeah. We do. We have kind of the two roads to come to the European market. One is we work with China OEMs, and their product they want to export their product to global market, including the European market, and of course, then we will support their exportation on those kind of ADAS technologies. And second is there are a lot of JVs in China backed by the European OEMs, because the car sales facing very, very hard kind of competitions for the last 2 years. And I heard a lot of the latest news from those JVs in China. Global OEMs do want to at least change the product definition of their cars in China, and then once they win, they want to win back the China market. And I think the whole philosophy, probably they will think about, okay, maybe I should bring some of the new kind of product philosophies to their local market as well. I mean, I think that's another way, directly work with the global OEMs to enter kind of the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, this was some incredible insights. We can slowly come to an end. I would like to ask you, so what can we expect from ADAS in the next 5 to 10 years? And maybe also, because you mentioned complexity, will we also be able to handle it? Can the progress go on like this, or could we also reach a point where we have to make a break because we might lose control because it gets too big, too complex to handle? What do you say?
I'm optimistic on the advancement of ADAS. I think it will just gradually getting better and better until it surpasses the human drivers. And for the next 5 years, I think my prediction is, at least in China market, I think you will see more cars with ADAS system than cars without ADAS systems. Mm-hmm. It's not achieved now, but I think it definitely will be achieved in 5 years.
Truls, what do you say? Also, with looking to the European market, what are your predictions?
I don't see at the moment the European market being the driver. I can see that we have the example of an American company that everybody knows, who is really, showing what the market could be like in the future. And many Chinese companies showing that. We are too careful in our development here, maybe also because the client is not screaming and saying, I want to have it. So this brings me to a point I'd like to bring also in this interview is what we found out is, instead of making nice PowerPoints and so on, we have created our experience workshops. And the experience workshop is kind of duplicating the Xuanyuan assessment, where we would have a number of cars. Well, it was 40 during this year's Xuanyuan-Awards assessment. It doesn't need to be 40, but taking the most interesting cars and having the people who are interested in understanding the differences between these cars, should it be for on the highway or in the city or parking, and letting them experience that, and then correlating this to what kind of systems, what kind of sensors and CPUs are they using and so on, and correlating that with cost. And this is kind of this experience workshop companies are really interested in. And we now have to think about, probably, as you said, Kai, maybe we're going to offer it in China and in Europe, kind of being able to assess the different vehicles in different contexts.
I think, we're looking forward to that, and I hope we can soon invite the two of you to one more episode where we can dig deeper and also check how the predictions turned out. So, Truls, Kai, thank you very much for this great conversation. We had a great time, and I'm sure our listeners too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for the latest episode of the EFS podcast. We hope you had a lot of fun and got some interesting insights, and see you and hear you the next time, probably again with an episode in German. Bye bye. Ciao.